Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, friendos and friendettes. Of course, this is Omega, and today I thought I'd bring you another Omega impressions, this time of a recently released mod. This is Aperture Tag, a take on Portal 2 that, instead of using the standard portal gun, decides to go ahead and use, and adapt, really, the gels from the Portal 2 and use them in a new sort of gun that allows you to use, of course, the bounce gel and the standard speed gel you unlock slightly later, and it makes for some new and interesting puzzle designs. Kind of a problem I have with the game. I know it's a total conversion mod, and I'm just going to get this out of the way before I go into anything else. This is being... I don't really know how I feel about having price tags on mods, because they are mods, and while I do think that you should certainly show some sort of appreciation toward the developers of those mods, I don't really know how I feel about mods charging for their... or developers charging for their mods. It's actually not that much of a conversion mod. The fact that the gun is changed a little bit, I don't really know if it justifies the price tag to start off with here, but currently it's only $5 on Steam, so you might not really have a problem with it. I kinda did, but I don't know. It seems pretty lengthy, so you'll probably get your money's worth out of it. You could think of it as a DLC, I suppose, is a good way to think about it. The only problem I kind of have with that sort of line of thinking is the fact that there's just so much on the Steam community for Portal 2 right now. It kind of doesn't make sense to charge money for this. I think it should have probably just gone on the Steam community page, the Steam warehouse workshop. Why do I always say warehouse? The Steam workshop page for this game. But ramblings aside, so we'll go through the options menu. Pretty standard. It's Portal 2 options. It's not really even anything that new. So if you're familiar with the Portal options, pretty much everything is standard. You've got all the options that you could want. The game's not incredibly graphically intense, so you don't really need to be worrying about, you know, full screen ambient occlusion or anything to that nature. Of course, has the same controller and mouse keyboard, both of which are rebindable, and apparently has community test chambers adapted specifically for this gun. So I guess this game is going to be getting its own workshop. I haven't really seen anything new coming up on that. But getting past that, just some quick options. You can see the developer commentary will be played over any of the maps. This is actually a little bit interesting, so I recommend enabling this for at least a few of the different areas you'll be playing through. The developers are foreign, and it's very noticeable, but they speak pretty well, and I would say that their commentary is pretty good. It's kind of interesting to see how they thought about the different chambers themselves, but let's get back into this. So I just recently gotten the red gel, the speed gel. You don't actually get it until about an hour to an hour and a half in, after you've done about 5 or 6 chambers, which is okay. I kind of like the pacing to it.
Testing sphere, nothing special. The average human doesn't have the reaction times required for this test, so I will shout out the directions you gotta go. This really helps out with survival rates. In theory, we're the first ones here. Ready when you are. Yeah,
so as you can hear, the announcer in the background is very clearly foreign, and he speaks pretty constantly. You might not have a problem with him. I kind of do, simply for the fact that I don't really like it. Oh, that's cool. And these maps are really well designed. I don't really like it when someone tries to emulate the humor of a game with their own sort of commentary, and he very much does try to emulate the Wheatley style of humor. He puts his own kind of spin on it. It's not really that sarcastic, but it's still noticeable, and I don't think he emulates it very well, but that's just me. You might like it. Also, I'm terrible at this. So, as you can see, the chambers are pretty well designed. They actually have some pretty innovative design to them, I gotta say. These ramps are something that are pretty new. And they very well suit the types of gel you'll be using. All of them are designed with the fact that you can jump around and speed around in mind. There was one to the beginning that I honestly thought was broken and was about to just start this video without having done any other of the testing facilities because I thought it was broken. As it turns out, that mission, that chamber actually, is not really... It's not broken. I'm just very bad at the game, as it turns out. The game does require you to think beyond the standard sort of Portal frame of mind, and by that I mean you have to think about how to use cubes in ways that you aren't really expecting. By, say, in that example, I had to use the blue gel to make a cube bounce around so that it would kind of just not be there. It would be removed from the testing environment so that I could get through a door. There might be a good example of that coming up. But other than that, And I wouldn't say that's unintuitive. I had thought that was unintuitive initially, but after thinking about it, it's not unintuitive, it's that I just suck, and I wasn't thinking without portals instead. I suppose that's the thing you can say about this mod. It makes you think without portals. That's kind of the thing about it. But it's actually pretty fun to just play around with the gels. I will admit, it kind of feels like there's something missing. Like, I know everyone likes the gels. I like the gels. I think they were a really good and innovative feature for Portal 2. And I do like them here, but I think on their own, I don't know if they really carry the game. And the problem is, they do provide a certain amount of freedom that the portals don't provide, but the portals also provide a certain amount of freedom that the gels don't really provide. Because while you can only use the portals in structured areas, the portals are a lot faster than the gels, generally. You can get through portals and make portals faster than you can spray gels everywhere. Also, I'm sucking. Why am I sucking? So, I guess the thing to keep in mind is that if you didn't really like the gels from Portal 2 to begin with, you won't really have that much fun with this mod. Which is fine. The mod's only $5, but I don't know. It's this weird feeling like something's missing while I'm playing this. It just feels like I'm not really playing Portal. Which, for some people, is fine, because they didn't really like the Portal gun. Understandable. The physics of it aren't really that intuitive, and it's not that smart. But for some of us, like me, it's just kind of weird. Oh, I'm ballsing this up. So what else can I say about the game? Well, it's Portal 2. It plays like Portal 2. As a mod, you would expect it to. There's not really that much innovative going on with the actual puzzle designs themselves. I mean, yeah, they incorporate the gels, but they incorporate the gels in the same facet that the original Portal 2 controlled the gels. So, or incorporated them, rather. So it doesn't really feel like there's anything new going on here, aside from, of course, the fact that these tracks are new. But I don't really think that's a bad thing. I kind of don't mind that it's more of the same, because it's more of the same with a new, not even a new mechanic, a new way of using an old mechanic.
Not sure if you noticed, but we are now on the upper levels of Aperture Science.
I did not notice,
more
voice.
Recycling tests. It's all brand new from now on.
Another problem, the game seems to crash pretty frequently when I tab out to the desktop. I'm sure this is probably a launch issue, but even then, still kind of a problem that shouldn't be going on.
This test did not have a connected vacuum delivery system. I want to remind you that these tests are still in alpha state.
Now the other problem, you won't really notice it here, but it's definitely in the beginning of the game.
This can be quite hard to nail down on the first try,
the
so I trained out to goo.
actual texturing and the modeling on certain things, especially like this new gun, this gel gun, they're pretty atrocious. Like, the gel gun itself is...
Now we just have to find a way.
I initially didn't really figure out what it was. I thought it was going to be a retexture of the original Portal 2 gun, or just the Portal gun in general, rather. And then I looked at it for a while, and I listened to the noises that it made. If you're in environments where you can't use the gel, it makes a noise, and I was like, that sounds very familiar. What is that noise? So I thought about it for a moment, and I realized the noise is the noise that the gravity gun makes. And if you look at it, this is just a retexture of the gravity gun. It's not even a retexture of the portal gun. Now, some people might call that lazy. I would be one of those people. But I don't really know how big the mod team was that developed this game, so I can't really speak to... or this mod, rather. I can't really speak to how much, time or effort or how many people they had on board, so... I appreciate that they made a new texture, at least. They didn't just recycle the portal gun and make it look slightly different. That's fine. But I still think it looks a little bit cheap, and especially considering the fact that it's the gravity gun from a completely separate game, although the same engine. I don't know. Just looks a little bit lazy to me. But what do I know? I just talk about video games for a long time. So, alright. What do we do here? I would assume I need to bounce. Oh, there's probably a button over here. It does incorporate some slightly new mechanics, like these buttons. This was probably clearly done in Gmod. I would think, from the looks of it, especially these lines like this, these cables, this all looks like it was done in Gmod, which would also explain why this gun looks like the gravity gun, or in case of Gmod, the Fizz Gun. It's basically, I would assume the entire game was just made in Gmod, or some other derivative software that allows you to make it. I don't know how the modding for this process actually works. Which explains its looks, but still have a problem with it even then. So, is there anything really more to say about it? Not really. It's Portal 2 with nothing but the gels, and if you really like the gels from Portal 2, you'll thoroughly enjoy this mod. How do I get through here? If you didn't, you won't. It's kind of as simple as that, really. Oh, I see. Okay. The gels do add a certain new layer to the game, but it doesn't really feel like the same Portal. And it does really feel like it's missing something. It's not even Portal technically anymore, if you think about it. But it's pretty subjective, so wholly up to you on that in that case. Now where do I go? I need to lay down more. Maybe I did. I need to lay down some more gel. Is it worth $5? Or $4.89, which is probably gonna bump you up to like $4.96, so it might as well be $5. It's up to you. In all honesty, I don't really think I would have spent $5 on this in any other case. If I had known going into it what it was, I don't think I would have spent $5 on it, but it looked pretty cool. It looked like a total conversion mod, and I happen to like those, so I picked it up for at $5, and I kind of regret it now. The game has given me sufficient enjoyment. I can't really argue that, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm getting anything really substantial out of it. And I'm already on, like, chamber number 8 or 9 of 16. This is probably going to end fairly shortly unless there's some kind of twist, and I really don't think there's going to be. So, for $5, I'd say if it's really your thing, if you really, really want Portal in a new and different light, pick it up. But really, considering the modding community for Portal, I'd say it's kind of superfluous and you really don't need to. But again, that's wholly up to you. My name has been Omega. See you next time.